Greetings, this is Kevin Jefferson, follow the Forex fam and followmytrades.com here with trade theory on a number of actual instruments today. And just want to kind of share this with you because I see some significant moves shaping up in the markets. And I've been observing this for the last couple of weeks, but some milestones were hit over the last several days that have gotten me into the mode of really wanting to share with you what the possibilities are so that you can perhaps plan accordingly with your portfolio or your investments or trades or whatever it is you're doing. So I'm going to analyze Bitcoin. I'm going to analyze the S&P 500, NASDAQ, the Dow. I'm going to also analyze gold because I see something interesting with gold that I've observed over the last year. Gold has actually trended up significantly, but it still doesn't look like it has any particular real downside movement in sight. And that'll be interesting because if some of these hypotheses are correct, then gold is going to do some things that I think are atypical. But anyway, before we get too far down the road, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go currency by currency to get you where you want to be. So this is the Bitcoin chart. And so the Bitcoin chart is this is the weekly. So, okay, so we're looking at the chart on the weekly. Let me go ahead and look at the monthly first. So you can see here on the monthly, the price has trended up. It's actually took a strong push back up into this consolidation area. So there may be some pullback off of this area at some point, but we'll get there in a second. So I'm going to go down to the weekly where there's a little bit more texture, and then I'll drill down to the daily and so on and so forth. So we're here. This is where Bitcoin is right now from a price standpoint. It's still in an uptrend, even though it's started to pull back and run into this consolidation right here, or this resistance. What these gray bars are, those are resistance bands that I put into the chart to show you where price was likely to get hung up. And so this brown dotted line right here, the 39, 7, 13, 25 is a possible pullback point over the next day or so, over the next week or so for Bitcoin. I don't expect it to fall further than that, but that's a kind of a checkpoint that price could get down to, maybe pierce through and then come back. But then I'm just going to go out to the daily because this is where most people are interested on a day-to-day basis. I'm looking for price to move lower one more time, like I said, on the daily, and wouldn't be surprised if price shot back up north after that to between the 43, 378, 19 area, which is up here, and the 43, 9, 44, 26 area. So right up in here, would not be surprised if price came back after a couple of days of downward movement on the Bitcoin to snap back higher again. And then as I'm looking at it, this is the 4-hour chart actually is showing us the price is actually still, even though it's pulled back off of this support line here, that price is definitely still looking to go lower. And so that's why it gives me the conviction the price may want to come back down here one more time. And it may close through this gap. It may, move all the way through there. But right now, we're just looking for price to get down to the 39, 7, 13, 25 area before we even make any additional assessments. But just going out to the big picture, away from the daily, what I do see as a possibility and maybe a higher probability is after the downward movement that we may see on Bitcoin over the next week or so, that price could shoot back up to the 49,000 area. That's this next resistance line here. And I think that price would potentially stall out there, and it could, do one or two things. So price could, go up here, stall out, and then retreat and possibly move back down to the 36,389.72 area. Or if it closes above that 49,000, it could continue up. And the upside target right now is 53,783.36. So that's this green highlighted line right here. So definitely have an expectation for price to continue to rise for Bitcoin with a couple of intermediate steps in there. So my short version of this is I'm looking for price to pull back in the short term, push north in the intermediate term over the next couple of weeks. And depending on what happens at the 49,000 area, should we get there, if price close above there for the day, let's go to the daily chart. So price closes above that 49,000 for the day, which is up here. Then I'm expecting, after maybe a day or two of relief, that price will continue higher and approach the 53,783.36 area right here. So definitely long term, or over the course of the year right now, showing some bullishness on Bitcoin, but there's some intermediate downside opportunity here. And I would wait for that to kind of play out and shake out over the next week or so, next several days, to see what's happening before I took a trade. But if I was going to make a move on Bitcoin right now, I would set myself for a long a buy trade, and then watch it around the 49,000 in above area with a max cap of about 53,073.36. And once it gets to the 53,000, let's say it does do that. Once it gets there, we'll just have to observe to see if price wants to continue higher, which I think that it would want to go higher. And maybe get back up to trying to approach the 60,000 range. But we've got a lot of work to do in between here and there. So I would be short-term bearish on Bitcoin, and then as soon as I got an indication. So what will be my indication? I guess that's a good question that a person would want to ask me. We don't know yet, because once the market opens back up, it has to give us some clarity on which direction it wants to move first. And once it actually helps us with that information by moving from a supply and demand standpoint, however it wants to move, then we can make some determinations on the upside. So what I will definitely do is I will revisit this video. I will actually update price once we see what happens with Bitcoin at the start of this trading week. This will be the trading week of the 21st of January. So we're going to watch this and see what happens, and I'll report back to you. So just wanted to share that with you. I think that's some interesting, news that short term you may get a little, shaken out by Bitcoin, but I think over the long term, it's definitely poised for an upward move, which I think is true for a lot of the other market movers, the indices and gold and so on and so forth. So I'll analyze those on other videos so you can kind of just break them down and study them by themselves. But I hope you gain some value from this. And until next time, enjoy the day.